Good morning and welcome to the NFC Roundtable featuring your friends here, the crew. Joining me today, as usual, of course, is our friend Mr. Mike Sidoris. He is unfortunately a Buccaneers fan, but
not everyone can have good taste, Andy.
You're right. Being a Bears fan, I know about good taste.
Yeah. So we're going to have to start today's show on kind of a somber note, yeah? It was pretty tragic yesterday with the passing of Dwayne Haskins. It's really it's not even just that it's a tragedy. It was something that really didn't have to happen. I mean, he did nothing wrong. He got out of his vehicle and was struck by a truck. You know what I mean? That's when you see a car pulled over. I know this isn't a public service announcement, but anytime you're on a highway or on a road or a causeway, you see someone pulled over, be a decent human being and merge so that people can handle their business, not risking their life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And he was, of course, down in Florida. He was working out with the team.
Yeah.
New teammate, Mr. Trubisky there, ex-Bear. They were just getting all their timing and stuff like that. And, it's just it was a horrible tragedy. And you're absolutely right. Should not have happened. But, unfortunately, life goes on. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. Our prayers out to his family, of course. And
absolutely.
So hopefully they'll dedicate the season to his memory and things like that, just to give, just to certainly have him, certainly play throughout the year.
The Steelers organization is a pretty class organization, honestly, in the NFL, and you definitely think they would do something, at least to show homage to him, remember him, play for him, what have you. But I think Ohio State really needs to do something. He's more known for being an Ohio State quarterback. I don't think you're going to see the Washington football team or Washington Commodores or whatever do anything for him either. I really think Ohio State and the Pittsburgh Steelers should and probably will do something.
Commanders.
Commodores.
I was locking up here. The Commodore 64s?
Right.
But no, absolutely. If with the Ohio State, Hall of Honor or whatever the case is, then, because he threw for what? Over 4,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in one season?
He was a Heisman candidate. You know what I mean? He wasn't a slouch player coming into the league. He just never caught on. He never could make that transition. Some people, it's just overwhelming. I can't speak on experience because God knows I wasn't good enough, but it's got to be a huge transition to go from being the best player in college to being a player in the league. You know what I mean? And you're giving them all that money. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. It's definitely, but anyway.
A lot of times, you take like Jamarcus Russell and a few of the others, Ryan Leaf, for example, and you always have to think that a quarterback is going to have that intellect to be able to kind of, make sure that you kind of keep your ducks in a row. But then you have a couple that are, not necessarily, but I definitely think he had his ducks in a row for sure. And it was just a horrible tragedy. But
his teammates seem to respect him a lot. Even like Leonard Fournette, a Buccaneer, jumped to his defense when Gil Bryant made a terrible statement on the radio about the passing of Dwayne Haskins. And, Fournette didn't play with them in college, but, there's that respect for players in the league amongst other players. So, that was good to see that the players stepped up for him. And it's just terrible. I just can't believe that something like that just ended such a young man's life.
Yeah.
But anyway, not to blow over it, but let's talk something a little more positive. Let's go up north, talk some Bears, Packers, Vikings, whatever you want to talk about up there in the NFC North.
So we can probably just get all the signings and all the transactions kind of in and out of the way and kind of go with the potential for, as you call it, the Mt Rushmore of players. Now, I think it would just be players because I think the coach would have their own little thing. But with the Bears, unfortunately, like I mentioned before, they have the most, of course, players in the Hall of Fame and things like that. So it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to pick just four.
Yeah,
you could say the top four per era.
And let's be realistic. There's a lot of players that are going to be on the fringe for most teams. The Bears, like you said, have a longer history, so they're going to have more players on the fringe. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that You're not keeping Peyton off, right? Peyton's on.
No, Peyton would definitely be. You know what?
I mean,
I'd probably put him on the coaches. I'd probably put him on special teams. I'd probably put. He's like the Cordell Patterson.
He's a Cordell Patterson all-time greats.
Of all-time greats. He can catch. He can throw. He can run.
He just couldn't score in the Super Bowl.
But he did take all that pressure off of everybody else, and he absolutely should have gotten the ball.
I know. I just love poking the bear, literally.
But that has different meanings in different circles. You might want to be careful with
that. I hate you so much.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I mean, so you got Walter Payton.
That kind of thing's okay.
Walter Payton's on, right? Well, now you're looking at is Sayers on or is Sayers watching? I mean, if I'm a Bears fan, I'm going Payton. It's because he's arguably the greatest running back of all time. You got to put, if you're not putting player or coaches on, Ditka's not going because he was a great Bear and he changed the position, but the game's evolved so much further from that. So I'm thinking you go Hampton, Dan Hampton. You
could even put on old Mongo McMichael. Only because Dan Hampton's already in the Hall of Fame, so
let's give it to Mongo. All right, we'll give Mongo the nod there. So,
oh my goodness, there's so many. It's not even funny.
Fensick's not there.
Fensick, okay, I can see how Fensick would not necessarily be there, but he was always that cerebral player that he's going to have you in the right spot. He's always around the ball.
Gary Fensick is a Tom Waddle of safeties in the league.
And there you go. There's another one, Tom Waddle. He's a Julian Edelman before a Julian Edelman.
Tom Waddle's a fan favorite, and he's a cult classic. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a Hall. He's not Mount Rushmore worthy. I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. He actually started that movement of the sure-handed, slow, kind of player that doesn't matter who, when, where he's going to be able to get the ball and give you at least another couple, 2-3 yards. He's going to yak it up, so to speak.
Right. So, okay, so we've got two people on. You got to fill up two more spots. I mean, I don't think Singletary is a better linebacker than Brian Urlacher. So I would put Urlacher over Singletary personally. But so there's that nostalgia for Singletary because he's got the ring.
Yes, but that's why I mentioned before, we need like a mountain range as opposed to just one mountain because you're looking at completely different players, though. Brian Urlacher was definitely the more athletic. He was the bigger, he was probably the faster, that kind of thing. But then you had Singletary, of course, was that heady player who's going to have – he was a captain of the old defense, old Buddy Ryan's defense. Right. You can't have that defense without that player.
Brian Urlacher, honest to God, anchored one of the best defenses. You can say the 85 Bears defense was one of the best defenses of all time, and I'm not going to argue that. But the Bears defense over the length of Urlacher's career was in the top 5 every year. Top 5 defense every year. No, he didn't win a Super Bowl. It might have been because he had Rex Grossman as a quarterback. It might have been because Kyle Orton was your savior. Who knows? All I can tell you is Urlacher's a better linebacker than Mike Singletary.
Better coverage. It's not necessarily apples to apples. I mean, same position, so that's your apple right there. But they're different players, and I think that's probably what gives you that slight edge to either one. You can either put.
What? Look, I'll give it to you this way. We'll put Singletary in because Urlacher could not juke Tom Brady. Brady's famous tackle on Brian Urlacher keeps him off Mt Rushmore.
Wow. It was like a speed bump, really.
It worked.
That was horrible.
But honestly, I think Urlacher's over Singletary.
If you want to put Urlacher on it, that's fine. But
then
you
got one spot left.
What if you want to stay with? Oh my goodness! I don't want to say you want to go with the old punky QB, nothing like that. But you do have like Jay Cutler, for example, who holds all kinds of Bears records. And if he would have had an offensive line, he might have been that one to take him to the promised land. You never know. But when you just simply have, what was that one year, 80 plus sacks? You can't pick yourself off the ground 80 plus times, and it's just one of those things. But then you were mentioning like Sid Luckman, for example, and there of course is Sid Luck, Grange, Luckman. It just goes on and on and on with the Bears. You have other teams that don't have that storied history like every other team in the league.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like for example, take San Francisco. They have like one player. That's it.
Come on, man. No, seriously.
Buccaneers don't even have a player.
Multitude of players. but like, look at, you got, I think Richard Dent, honestly, he's got to be on there. He's your Super Bowl MVP. He's a Hall of Famer. He's part of that defense. You know what I mean? The defense that everyone held to as the benchmark for the longest time.
Absolutely.
So there you have four. I mean, those four you're happy with. We've got Peyton, Mongo.
Sure.
Peyton, Mongo. Who was it? Who did we decide? Urlacher, honestly, and then Dent.
I was watching the old wheels lock up there.
I was because Singletary Urlacher is a good debate. It really is. I mean, even Wilbur Marshall. If Wilbur Marshall would have stayed in Chicago longer, I mean, unbelievable. But yeah, Chicago's history is rich.
Oh yeah, and again, when you have that defense in that particular era that has never seen that defense before, that's how you're able to just do what you did, And then when they, of course, walked into Miami, unfortunately they couldn't go for that undefeated season. But even the players said, that was probably the best thing for us to happen is losing that game. That refocused everything, and then they, of course, went to the Super Bowl, and they won by a point or two.
Right on. So okay, well, let me transition. Let's go Niners. You brought up the Niners. We can go Niners now. I mean, there's some rich history there. Joe Montana, right? Joe Montana's on for the Niners.
Never heard of him.
So we got Montana. That spot's already taken. We're not putting coaches in, so Walsh is out, Seifert's out. So who you got next? Who you put up there? If you're a Niners fan, who do you put up in the Hall of Fame or in the Mt Rushmore?
You have, again, several different players. For example, you go defense, you were talking about Ronnie Lott. Actually, I absolutely love Ronnie Lott. He was an individual. Where you break a tip of your finger and you're like, I got some more. Take this one off. It comes back like 30 seconds later, rubs a little dirt in it and stuff like that. Now that is a football player. So I definitely have to put him on that mount for San Francisco. Packers players. But I don't know. You have to have that one receiver guy. What's his name? Jerry freaking Rice.
Oh, yeah. That's the San Francisco treat, right? I mean, Rice will be there.
When you take dance and ballet classes just to be able to hone your skill, that's just a different kind of dedication. That's just wow. That's one of the reasons why he's got that funny looking jacket.
So we got Lott, Montana, of course, Jerry Rice. And do you go Steve Young or do you go defense with Ken Norton? No, I mean Romanowski. No.
With the stigma of Bill Romanowski, I don't know.
Dana Stubblefield. I mean, there's a lot. What's that?
Bryant Young.
Right. There's a lot of, I really think maybe Steve Young. I know it's terrible, but
you could certainly see putting two quarterbacks on there.
I mean,
yeah, I would definitely say shout out to Bryant Young only because of the fact he, of course, went to the same high school and stuff like that, several years apart.
No, not that many.
But I mean, he was only slightly a better athlete than I was.
So Niners, you got
Steve Young,
Joe Montana,
Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, and
Roger Craig. You're going 5? There's only 4, right?
Okay, we'll stay with 4.
There's 4 on
Yeah,
Mount Rushmore, right?
I think there's actually 5 on Mount Rushmore. Well, there was actually planned to be their entire profile from the chest up, but that's a history thing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's perfectly fine. We can go with 4. I mean they didn't have that many players.
There's definitely debate for Roger Craig, like I said, who belongs in the Hall of Fame. Belongs in the Hall of Fame before Frank Gore. We've already had that discussion, in my opinion. But I mean, they're coaches. I mean, you do a Niners coaches Mount Rushmore, you're going to put a lot of coaches up there. I mean, but anyway.
One.
So now we're come on now. Now we're down to like that terrible team in Dallas.
I think they only had 1 player too. I would put Starbuck on there.
We got
That's it. Starbuck. That's it.
Aikman, Starbuck. Who you taking there? Because one of them can't make it, the other makes it, and the other 3 are pretty much solidified, right?
What? You can look at their offensive line. The only reason why Emmitt Smith ever had any yards is because that offensive line was all freaking global.
Right, but how many offensive linemen get credit for anything? 1.
Exactly.
1.
Well, you had anywhere from Mark Stemnowski in the center. Then, of course, you had oh my goodness, the offensive line. I'm telling you, because the offensive line is
okay. Here, let's do this.
Success.
We'll do the Great Wall of Dallas as 1. All 4 of them as 1.
You know what? I can live with that only because nothing else would have happened without them.
Well, no individual lineman is gonna, win or lose the game for you, right?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know. You're saying like an Anthony Munoz or even like a Tony Baselli or one of those other big name players. They're not going to be able. Thomas.
Great pass blockers, great run blockers. Gonna catch?
Yeah. They're the best athletes on the field always.
I'm being serious. I mean, I love linemen. Don't get me wrong. But
they're the best. They're the best. I'm telling you, they're the best athletes. You can run block, pass block, not to mention the fact you have all these different little formations and all these different little things that you have to. I'm telling you, they're absolutely the best and smartest players. Quarterbacks, I guess, are a relatively close second.
I mean, it's got to be difficult going up the line of scrimmage, looking to make sure the guy to your left, the same guy that was the last 7 other plays. But other than that, I mean, yeah, formations. So anyway, Great Wall of Dallas.
So you got Aikman. I'll give you Aikman over Starbuck. Okay. Emmitt Smith is again, he's one of those things, because without the offensive lineman, which is number 3, and defense, I don't know. Maybe you want to say Haley. Maybe you want to say who was that? That last fellow that was the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP.
White? Was it
Larry
White?
Brown?
Oh, Larry Brown. He had that one good game, but it was the best game to have a good game. But I mean, Dallas, you're going to run in the same situation you have in Chicago, right? Because you really have, as much as it's a terrible history after the 90s, you have some good history there.
Sure. And I can certainly see Barry Sanders, but that's a different team, Jerry Christian.
He might be talking about Deion Sanders being on for the Niners, or Deion Sanders being on for the Cowboys, or Deion Sanders being on it for the Falcons. I don't know.
Well, the Atlanta Braves.
Right. But yeah, I mean, so Tony Dorsett's out, right? You're going to knock Tony Dorsett out for Emmitt Smith?
I personally like Tony Dorsett better.
So do I. I think he's a better back.
Only because his offensive line wasn't nearly half the offensive line as a 90s Dallas.
Tony Dorsett could play in today's game.
Well, he was kind of a bad man. That's why.
So I mean, you put Emmett on and take Tony off. You put Tony on, take Emmett off. You're not putting both of them on. Michael Irvin's got to be on there.
He might be on the fringes. He's one of those players.
You don't think Irving's on the Mt Rushmore?
I mean, he was okay-ish.
One of the best receivers of all time. Come on.
I would give you mediocre at best.
All right. So we'll go. What about Larry Allen?
See, he's definitely going to be. So if you have your offensive line that's going to be 1, he would probably have his head just above the rest of them.
Right.
Larry Allen at one point,
Good.
bench press was at 700 pounds in front of everybody. Larry Allen was a bad man.
So where are we going here? We gotta come up for Dallas. Your quarterback is who? Aikman, you said?
I would say Aikman.
So
even though that offensive line precipitated everything.
The Great Wall of Dallas, Aikman. So they got 5 people already because they're Dallas and they get special treatment, whatever. So
there's a flag right there.
So I'm going Dorsett. I like Emmitt Smith. He only has a record because his career lasted 6 decades. But I mean, I think Dorsett's better.
Didn't Dallas have this tight end guy that they used to throw to every so often?
He was a terrible coach. I don't remember his name.
It must be nothing.
All right. So we're going Irvin? Or are you going to slide Emmett over Irving and leave Emmett on?
You know what? I would prefer to go with Irvin as opposed to Emmett.
Yeah.
Because if you're look what happened when Emmitt Smith, granted, he might have been a year or 2 past his prime, but when he made it to Arizona, he unfortunately didn't do as well as when he was with Dallas because he
didn't have the line either.
That offensive line.
So
Nate Newton and Larry Allen and I mean all these guys that were just cumulatively they were the team.
All right, we'll go Irving there. What's that last team we got to talk about up north before we get to the good team?
That's it.
Oh yeah, the Green Bay Packers. There's some history there, Andy. Where are you going here? If I'm picking 4, I'm going 4 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks and Reggie White, Bart Starr, Reggie White, Brett Favre, and the aardvark Aaron Rodgers.
I can see leaving Aaron Rodgers out only because really there's 2 reasons why I would. Number one, he's still technically playing. He's got this, I guess you could say, the stigma around him now that he's going to be making $4 billion this year, and all the other players, unfortunately, couldn't be afforded, so he's going to be thrown to, well, anyway, so I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is, I don't know. So now we have to be able to actually possibly even see this as a team sport. So if you have a quarterback, for example, Joe Montana, he was thrown to Jerry Rice. Troy Aikman, he was thrown to Michael Irvin. If you have Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb.
Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb.
Jordy Nelson.
Yeah. I mean, they're there. He took – I wouldn't say he took subpar talent because they're in the NFL. They're not subpar talent. But he took players that went elsewhere and did nothing. And he made them, prolific pass catchers in the NFL.
Was that the system or was that the actual player? Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady is mediocre at best. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest. He keeps himself in shape, and that's it. He's 74 years old. That's it. He's a product of the system.
It's his system. I mean,
that's just the thing. He was actually there when they were writing it.
Right.
He's that old.
He brought it off the mountain with the 2 stone tablets. But yeah.
You still let people go? Is that why everybody's coming down to Tampa?
I wish everyone was coming. Sue's still sitting on the sidelines. We got to get Sue back in Tampa. But anyway. So, I mean, but if you do that with the 3 quarterbacks, you leave Nitschke off, right?
Ooh. Ray Nitschke was one of those players, similar to like Dick Butkus with the Bears, who he probably could have played very, very well today. He had that mean streak that actually just absolutely would have transferred, although he would have probably gotten a lot of flags.
He'd have played a different position for sure. He looks huge on game tape from back in the day, but you put him against today's athletes, he's, but that goes with training and, different different times, different technologies,
Supplements, different types of supplements.
Right. They're taking greenies back then. That was just to stay awake. Up now they're taking, HGH and shit, stuff like that. So
What?
that's what I'm hearing.
I'm shocked. I am shocked.
What else is going on, North? Before we get to Tampa Bay and the Tampa Bay Mount Rushmore, because I'm going to get on a soapbox at the end here.
So the thing with Green Bay, like I said, they've actually been around for a little while, and they've had a few players. I definitely appreciate Brett Favre, the old gunslinger mentality. Bart Starr was actually kind of a little bit of both. He had that mentality and the old gunslinger, but they and oh my goodness, there were just so many players that you could consider for Green Bay. Everything from again, Nitschke. You also have, oh my goodness, you had the running back. I want to say Edgerrin James, but that was from the team further east. But you had two running backs that were actually for Green Bay that actually gave you production as well as your blocking, and that's pretty much where Brett Favre was always able to.
Oh, Dorsey Levens?
Well, Dorsey Levens, yeah, he was definitely for sure, but I'm thinking about the other guy.
I don't know.
There's just been so much hate and animosity between Green Bay and Chicago and stuff like that. It's just one of those things. You have the Green Bay Packers on a sheet, and you just
right on. All right, well, we're gonna leave the Green Bay Packers. I'm sticking with my 3 quarterbacks and Reggie White, just because Reggie White took that team to the Super Bowl, and it was instantaneous. But speaking of going to a new team and taking to the Super Bowl, I don't know where else that happened recently. Brian, you have any idea where that could have happened?
Tampa.
Hey, what's going on, my man?
When did Tampa get a professional team?
So I don't know if you were listening in the back room. We're talking Mount Rushmores of NFL teams.
All right.
Right. So now Tampa doesn't have as rich history as most of your other NFL franchises, just because they're a newer team, to be honest, and they've stunk for a long time. I mean, back in the creamsicle days, until you got Derek Brooks and until we saw Warren Sapp and John Lynch and all them kind of changed the culture. You had from 78 to 94, 95 before they actually started pulling stuff together. So that's a long time of just being, right?
Right.
Who do you put, in your opinion, on the Mount Rushmore for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
What's funny about that is, since it's the team that I cheer for, I think it's one of the tougher ones for me, because you look at that 90s team, or like the first Super Bowl team. I mean, right there's a lot on that team. Right. I mean, I can name you can name Sapp, Lynch, Allstott, Simeon Rice. There's so many right. Guys. I know, there's great players that played, when we first had a team, even on the bad years there. I don't know if I would put necessarily like Doug Williams or anything. I mean, he was great, but he didn't win a Super Bowl with us. He went somewhere else and
he
did that.
He was the best player on a bad team, and he willed them to better things. I mean, once you got the Salmon brothers, and once you got sound running game, that you started seeing how the Bucs back then, they made all the NFC Championship game and lost to a terrible team known as the Rams. It's weird how history repeats itself, but the Rams have been a thorn in the side for a long time. But so I don't put Doug Williams there either, and honestly, I don't think I put Ricky Bell in there.
No, I mean, you got Selman. He's definitely up there, but I mean,
is he still up there?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's up there in as far as being on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, the way that because you can think of some newer players, like does Evans go on there? Does he take the place of Selman? I mean, Evans is
your franchise right now, really.
Yeah.
But
yep. And you're going to start thinking about replacing somebody with, just say Brady wins another Super Bowl or something. Do you replace somebody with Brady?
I honestly, I'm not a Brady fan. I've never made that a secret. He's great. I love what he's done for Tampa, and unfortunately, I do think he belongs on the Mount Rushmore of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah,
we had no real offense before. I mean, you had Winston. Winston came in, and he gave as much offense to us as he did to the opposition. Does that make sense?
right. Yeah,
And before that, you had who? Josh Freeman.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly, Brady took the same team Winston had, added a couple pieces, and there you have it. What's up, Andy? What you got for us?
Well, I'm just wondering where you put defensive tackle. What's his name? James Canada? Where would you put him in there?
Big game, James. He would even tell you. I mean, James played with Sapp, but yeah, I think Sapp's up there. Sapp, and I don't like him as a human being, but I think Sapp's on your Mount Rushmore. I think Derek Brooks, 100% on your Mount Rushmore. And as much as it pains me to say, I think Lynch is off. And Lynch is my favorite all-time Buck, but I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore. I don't think Rondé is on there right now either. I really think you go Brady, Sapp, Brooks, Evans, in my opinion. And it's open for debate. I mean,
yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's because I think Rondé was, is the best cornerback that we've ever had.
Right.
So it is tough. I mean, can we add 10 people?
you sound like Andy. Andy wanted to put the whole 85 Bears as one team, as one head.
And that's what's crazy about, when you guys were talking about the Packers and stuff, you think about the history of the Packers and how many championships and all that stuff that they have. And like you said, okay, 3 quarterbacks and Reggie White, and then you can maybe add Ray Nitschke on there, stuff like that. But it seems easy for me to name off a Packers. It's not for Bucks,
right? Because your heart's connected to it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean. And it's like him with the Bears. It's like pulling teeth getting to pick 4. But
yeah, I mean, linebacker wise, who do you think is the better linebacker? Urlacher, for example, or Singletary. They're different. They're same position, different players.
Yeah.
One's a better athlete, one's more cerebral, so to speak. Is it a product of their environment, of the scheme, or is it? It's just one of those things where you can actually talk about that with literally every other team, even the Vikings, the old purple people eaters. Where you can put them? They got to be top at the top.
Yeah.
Right targeting.
I agree, and that's what makes this a fun debate. But
you put Adrian Peterson on there.
Oof. For Minnesota, you got it right.
But Nancy, does it affect the Mount Rushmore if the player is you got Derek Brooks who always played for the Bucks, you got Barbie who always played for the Bucks. I mean, yes, Sapp left, but his Raider years are kind of
right. No, I get you.
Forgotten.
Brady. Yeah, and you do it that way, Brady's off, in my opinion. If you're going longevity and how much they were with the franchise and whether they bleed, creamsicle and white or pewter and orange or pewter and red, that's different. And then you're talking about something completely different, right? So if you're going that route, you got to stick with basically the 2000s, because the new team is mostly comprised of, other than Mike Evans, people that came with Brady, right?
We should revisit this in 20 years when Brady's still playing.
when he just thrown his 6th touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl 74.
So speaking of Brady, did you did read how Miami Brady that was a real thing? I firmly believe that. I really think he was trying to pull a Rob Gronkowski, say he retired, force the Bucs' hand to let him go, so they could move on, he could move on, and then go to Miami. Now they're saying because of all the allegations made by a certain coach in Miami about minority practices and them asking him to throw games and whatnot, Brady pulled on the deal. The Saints wouldn't let the Dolphins talk to Sean Payton, so on and so forth. But do you think there was actual fire there with that? Because I firmly believe Brady was gone. I think he was going to go to Miami.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the story went from just like him going to Miami and playing, and then all of a sudden, like just recently, I see this where he was going to be an owner of the Dolphins and then still play, which I didn't even know you could do. But yeah, I mean, as I'm sure as we go on here, I would think that they're gonna say, whether Brady says it when he's playing here still or whatever. We'll definitely find out whether it was true or not. But there's so many pieces to it that it's like, well, it's got to be somewhat true.
Right.
How the heck did they just come up? They come up with something like this.
How did all of it fall perfectly to the plan that they say happened,
right,
and it come to fruition? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, Flores threw the monkey wrench, and I mean he messed the whole thing up. But
yeah, I was trying to figure out why he's going to Miami out of all the teams. He was going to go there,
Right. What's up, Andy?
But then what about the whole Bruce Arians thing? Did he take a front office desk because of Tom Brady, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was part of the process.
Yeah, I think so too. I
don't know the beef with Brady and Arians, but there's definitely something that's not right sitting there, right? I mean,
well, you have type A personalities, for example, and you do have, of course, Tom Brady with several Super Bowl victories. Bruce Arians, of course, he wouldn't really have his without Tom Brady, but you still have those two type A personalities kind of butting heads a little bit. And at the end of the day, who's going to win? The quarterback who's actually could conceivably bring in another Super Bowl, or the coach who's actually just kind of secondary to the quarterback who could conceivably bring you a Super Bowl?
Yeah, you got maybe it has something to do with, like Bruce Arians has always been the guy that's been able to take the younger quarterback and produce him into something good, and it's not necessarily that anymore. It's a quarterback that knows what he's doing.
Right. Yeah, I honestly think the whole thing. I mean, Brady caused everything that's happened in Florida this offseason, except for the Jags, which is just a cluster mess itself, is affected by Tom Brady. The Dolphin situation was totally thrown off because of the Brady situation. Flores messing it up for the Bucs. The only thing it did for the Bucs, though, messing it up wise, I mean, gives them a quarterback. We don't have to see the experiment in Blaine Gabbert or Kyle Trask or Ryan Griffin. We have a quarterback that we can rely on for the next season. But in 2023, is Brady a Dolphin? I mean, that's what it's. I mean,
yeah.
What do you do if you're Tampa? You're going to the draft this year, and you have a 27th pick, which isn't. I mean, that's a second-round pick. Let's be honest. There's only so much first-round talent in the first round. Does that make sense? Yeah. Maybe top 20. So if you're Jason Light and Brady's gone probably after this season, what do you do? Where do you go? I mean, do you trade out and try to acquire more picks for next season? Do you trade out and try to get more picks this year? Do you get a good, solid guard in the draft? There's going to be some really solid guards late in the first round. Zion Johnson, 6'3", 310, out of Boston College. Darian Kennard out of Kentucky. Dude, 6'5", 345. That's a body of a tackle playing guard. And then you got Jermaine Saylor out of Georgia, 6'4", 325. They're all going to be there at 27. Zion might go a little early. So you're going to still have one of the three that are there. Do you do that if you're Jason Light? Is a guard where you want to go in the first round?
I mean, I'm thinking that we are going to take a guard, or it's at some point in the draft. Along with also, I think if we don't do anything with Sue by then, we're going to go defensive line. But as far as I don't know, I think you kind of would have to go offensive. That's kind of going towards the future. If you don't have Brady, you need more. You need more protection
Right.
I mean, you need more protection when you have Brady also, but
right. So after this year, I mean, you're counting on the Bucs having a late draft pick again next year, yeah?
Yeah.
Just because of weak conference weak division, not weak conference. Andy, this is for you. We're on the soapbox. So you got a weak conference, right? Or weak division. Bucs aren't going to have as good a record as they had last year, probably, just because they have a tougher schedule. But with the weak division, they're going to be in the playoffs. Knock on wood. So you got a late draft pick next year. It's not going to be anything. So you got to figure something out. I really don't think Kyle Trask is going to ever take a snap in Tampa with any meaning. I mean, who do you see as the quarterback next year? It's not going to be Brady. And if it's Gabbard,
Gabbard. I don't know. I mean, it could be, but you better keep the weapons that we have with them, and build the lines, give him some time to throw the ball, because he's not a Brady where when he's going to get pressure, he's going to throw the ball wherever. That's what I think.
So just to quickly qualify your statement of the fact that there's only so much talent in the first round, you're trying to tell me that Mitch Trubisky at number 2 for the Bears would have been there in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 12th round?
Yeah, I'm thinking Trubisky.
Absolutely, he would have been.
We made some bad picks at quarterback too.
Yeah.
So,
but then I think might have been a little bit more product of his environment, because of course Matt Nagy and his scheme was probably good for, if you were a really, really good high school team, that would have been perfect.
Right. You're playing 3A. So,
but if you're looking at it like an offensive line, especially because you're going to have to, whoever your quarterback's going to be, you need to be able to protect them. And just like Rob Snellman had basically said, you can actually get yourself a small tackle, big guard, because even if you're 6'5", 6'6", you can easily shift from your tackle to your guard.
Dude, that's why I'm loving this kid out of Kentucky. You can look up tape on him. His name is Kennard. He's 6'5", 345. And his length alone, I mean, he plays guard at the collegiate level, but someone like that, you could box out it to a tackle. He's got the length. As long as he's a good run blocker, you put him on the right side. Pass blocking, you just got to catch. But run blocking is where the Bucs are going to need a lot of help coming in the future, I think. But,
yeah, so whoever you get at quarterback, whether it's going to be even another free agent, for example, or if you just happen to get yourself like a diamond in the rough quarterback-wise, even like, for example, what they did with in Buffalo, for example, with Rosen, things like that. There's just one of those things, and you need time to develop. So you're going to probably have and I can't believe Gabbard's even still playing, honestly.
But he's not playing. That's the thing. He's not playing. He's just
physically within the league.
Blaine Gabbert is undefeated when he's taking snaps in Tampa Bay. Think about that. Undefeated. But I agree with Rob. We got to get a veteran quarterback if Brady leaves.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the problem is all the quarterback trades and everything this year really kind of, the chances of getting any of those guys are pretty much gone, because they signed some good deals and stuff. If you were ever thinking that you were going to get Russell Wilson or any of those guys, that kind of stuff is gone. I mean, you maybe have a chance to get one of those.
Baker's still out there.
Yeah, Baker's out there. Yeah, that's a possibility.
But
I mean, maybe Baker plays better with better O-line, a better some more weapons. Different situation for sure.
So, I don't know how much time you got, Brian. We got like 15 minutes left, but I definitely want you to be able to let us know something a little bit about Crue Life. You helped grow that group exponentially the past couple seasons. So you want to give us a little intel about that? And
yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is, just give back to the fans, like everybody does charity stuff and everybody does great things, but we want to just make sure that the fans have a great experience when they go to games, tailgates, watch parties. We give tickets away to fans to make maybe they haven't never been to a game in their life, so we want to make sure that they can get tickets to the game and enjoy the experience. Our main thing is unity, equality, opportunity. That's what we're all about. Give people chances, and we like to see people kind of grow with us. That's why we wanted to team with you guys. We like what you guys are doing, and hopefully we can create this into something big.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, we definitely love the opportunity to come on with you guys, and hopefully we can grow your product or your brand as well as our product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's I before E in Meyer.
It probably
is. Who actually owns a winery in Northern California, I believe.
Well, that's great. He's going to play quarterback in the league.
And Tim Tebow, you know what? He was a winner. I don't care what anybody says. He won a playoff game.
He did.
A AAA baseball player. Anyway.
So, you got anything else for us, Brian? You want to stay for the last little bit of discussion? We're going to go into who's the Mt Rushmore of the NFL in general.
I'll stay with you guys.
Right on. So, we'll start with you then. I mean, who do you feel all-time Mt Rushmore NFL?
Because this is who I think is the all-time greatest player in the NFL. I'm going to put Deion Sanders on there.
Yes, sir.
Just because all around, he played offense, defense, kick return, punt return. He was doing it all. I'm going to say
what is he, a Cordero Patterson?
What's that?
Is he Cordero Patterson? I think not.
Yeah, right. And then I think maybe I'll put Reggie White up there. I like Reggie White. Probably. Oh man,
this
is tough.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Well, why don't you do an offensive and defense? That might be even like a special teams.
Yeah, it's weird because you can think of it and then it changes yearly. So that's the problem.
No, well, I'll help you out here. This was who the fans voted for a while back on I believe it was ESPN.com. And the fans voted Tom Brady, Walter Payton, Lawrence Taylor, Jerry Rice. And it's hard to argue with that, but I can argue with anything.
Right.
I like to argue. So, Peyton, change the game, right? But the game's changed since Peyton.
Yeah.
So you could take him down.
Are you talking about Peyton Hillis?
You could take former Buck. You could take Lawrence Taylor down. There's players that have changed the game since Lawrence Taylor. So it's open up for debate, but
whoa. I can see why they decided with Lawrence Taylor. He actually, I can 100% agree with the fact that he revolutionized the linebacker spot as linebacker / defensive end. He was that fast, mean, quick. He was that guy on the defensive line in this particular case who can actually run you down if you just happen to. And he might have had some sort of a stimulant working with him also, but I can absolutely see why. And so you would have to leave him on there. No, Lawrence Taylor is definitely, and he makes a good movie cameo in Bobby Boucher's Waterboy.
Right. But yeah, you could argue there's players today that do that.
Yeah.
And it's because of Lawrence Taylor, but they're just starting their career. Who's going to say where it finishes?
Yeah, but you're saying, this player, he's awesome. He was, Lawrence Taylor-esque.
No, I get it.
You always have that base, and then everybody grows off that base.
John Madden said Tom Brady was Joe Montana-esque. But you know what? Joe Montana's not up here. Tom Brady is.
His teammate is. So that makes him kind of sort of guilty by association, I guess.
But I mean, so you've got Deion Sanders, Reggie White, right? That's 2 solid picks. So where are you going next?
I guess I would probably go. Man, I know they got Peyton up there, but I don't know. I like Barry Sanders,
There you go.
and maybe it's more so because that's more my era. That's where I didn't get to watch Walter Payton play. I was pretty young for that. So, I think Barry Sanders. I think, and for some reason, I think I'd put Randy Moss up there. Randy Moss,
Okay. So,
good. Let's see.
your mountain's turning into like a.
Yeah, I know. But
It might turn
it's
into
hard
a
to-
molehill if you think you're going to take
It's
Peyton
hard,
now.
it's hard to pick them, but yeah, that's
Yeah. So you got Deion, Reggie, Barry, and Moss.
Yep.
Era of football, right? That's your era. That's what you grew up with.
Right.
And Andy, who are you arguing for here?
The whole Chicago Bears team.
Wait,
85 Bears.
Yeah.
No,
Seriously.
but you have, oh my goodness, everywhere from Steve Large and Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin. Okay, I guess you could probably put Moss in there for whatever reason. Andre, the moon is rising with his troubles on the domestic front and having his house burned down twice. But anyway, let's
I don't even think Left Eye would put Rising up there.
But you literally have one player per team that could conceivably not necessarily be on that, but chip away at some of those things.
Yeah, they could be on the foothill.
Yeah. But then you look at the Bears. For example, I 100% agree with Peyton just simply because he was the runner, he was the catcher, the thrower, the blocker. He actually was a solid football player all around. So I can totally see him being up there. Tom Brady, okay, I suppose. You never look so good. I can totally see Tom Brady, but is he a product of the scheme, that kind of thing? You could possibly put Aaron Rodgers in there, Brett Favre.
Oof. Really?
Conceivably.
I could see with putting Bradshaw instead of Brady.
Bradshaw?
Just because he did it himself. It was his. I mean, there was no headset in the helmet. Bradshaw called his own plays. He made his own line adjustments. I can see that. I'll give you that. But you're not putting Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers in over Brady.
Why not? I mean, granted, you have the discrepancy within Super Bowl victories and stuff like that. And that's one thing. But those teams with those players, I think, were a little bit more quarterback-centric as opposed to Tom Brady, who, of course, had more support around him. Look at just with Rob Gronkowski, for example. He always had that release valve.
Look at it this way. You could take all of Detroit's Super Bowl wins, all of Favre's Super Bowl wins, all of Rodgers' Super Bowl wins, and they still don't add up to all of Brady's.
Yeah, but they were more quarterback-centric within their scheme as opposed to Tom Brady, who, of course, was he had the whole package around him. And again, we were talking about that before, like a couple of weeks ago. Think about it like this. You have one quarterback who's willing to actually take a pay cut, whatever the case is, to be able to get those pieces around him. That's what would make him one of the greatest. Whereas, of course, you have Aaron Rodgers, who wants $1 trillion contract, and the Packers just simply can't afford to get anybody around him to support.
Right.
So he might not have wanted to be within a rebuilding scenario, but he 100% is within a rebuilding scenario. Whereas Tom Brady, of course, has a lot of those pieces already in place.
He's in a rebuilding scenario of his own destruction. I mean, he did it. He caused it.
Yeah. Look at Kansas City. They have several of their key players with extended contracts, including their quarterback, at nearly $500 million.
So you're taking Brady out. You're putting who in?
I can see leaving Brady in. However, I'm just saying that, you have to kind of look at it. Are you a product of your system, or are you going to be something that's going to be more quarterback-centric? Troy Aikman, for example, I would say was probably a little bit of both. He called a lot of his own plays, but then he also had that support system around him, team-wise.
A ton of them around him. Besides,
Exactly.
So
take like Rex Grossman.
Come on, man. Seriously, who are you?
I mean, the Bears Rex Grossman, not Washington Rex Grossman. And of course, when Indianapolis beat them in the Super Bowl and things like that, you had a much better team than you had, like with Jay Cutler, for example.
You bring up a good point. Here's another good point too. Manning. Is Peyton in there? Is Peyton Manning in the Mt Rushmore?
I don't know, because he had the team scenario in both Indianapolis and in Denver.
Sometimes it's the quarterback that makes the team, man.
No, absolutely. You need that catalyst. You need that engine to be able to run that particular. That's why I was saying Singletary kind of over Urlacher, because you needed that head to be able to make everything else, that engine to make everything else move.
Right. I get you.
With Peyton, of course, being in Indianapolis and Denver, you had a team, Von Miller and all those other guys. You just needed that catalyst, that engine to run it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I think Brady absolutely should be up there, because he's always been that engine to be able to actually help that team win.
Yeah. So you got 2 up there now. You got 2 more to fill. We're running on 3 minutes. No pressure.
And well, as far as like the Bears, just specifically the Bears, you could certainly go with Richard Dent, for example, that we had talked about. And you want to go with a Butkus, for example, or even somebody who is more of a team player, like a Fensick, like a Moorhead, like a people like that, who helped make everybody else around them better. Otis Wilson, Otis,
I love Otis, but right on. So we'll go to me. I'm skipping you now. So I'm putting both Sanders up there, Dion and Barry. That was football. Growing up in the 90s, the Sanders were football. You had Barry in Detroit and Dion everywhere out. I mean, Atlanta, San Francisco, Dallas, Baltimore. I mean, Dion was everywhere. So I've got both Sanders up there. And then you got to put Brady up there. Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. You can argue it all you want, but he's not the most athletic quarterback. He's not the greatest skilled quarterback, but he's the best quarterback of all time. He does what it takes to win you ball game. And at the end of the day, that's a quarterback's job. So now you got Sanders and Brady. And then defensive, I mean, I don't know who to throw as the last defensive person. I mean, but
Harrison, Pittsburgh.
I was honestly thinking Jack Lambert. And the only reason for that is because he used to scare the shit out of me when I was younger watching NFL films. I mean, he was just a mean SOB. So, I mean, that's where I'm leaning. Jack Lambert's not going to be on many people's Mt Rushmores just because it'd be hard to golf without any teeth. But, I mean, that's mine. Lambert, Sanders, Brady. So, anyone got anything else they want to add before we –
See, and that's just the thing. You can go team by team, because then you got like Howie Long, then you got Zato, you got all those guys.
Right. There. I mean, if we had 7 hours to do a show, we might be able to do all that. But
I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I could definitely throw Brady up there, but I was trying to, stay away from throwing my team's players on there, I guess, just because,
No, I get you.
That's what it would be. It was all Bucks players. So
no, I get it.
But, like I always tell a lot of people, because from being from Wisconsin, there's always the argument of Brady and Rodgers, and I say, well, how come these players will come to Tampa and they'll play for not a lot of money just to play with Brady? I said, how come nobody's coming to, or there's always talk of, oh, this guy who's a free agent, he's going to come to Green Bay. He never lands in Green Bay. They just never get, big time players. And why is that? If Rodgers is, who he is, how come he can't get, a big time player to come here?
Because it's -80 in January.
Right. Yep.
It is -80.
That's what makes it, I think, the difference between him and Brady is,
as
far as greatness, is that's totally different leadership there. People want to play with you compared to they don't want to play with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Let me ask you this real quick. So would you rather have a quarterback that's actually pretty, level-headed, he doesn't get too angry, he doesn't get too sad, nothing like that, or would you rather have somebody with fire For example, if you could even take Tom Brady and how there are certain times when he gets fired up. But would you rather have somebody who's pretty much just level?
I think I would rather have somebody who gets fired up, because that's when he does that, he gets fire under the rest of the team and gets them, moving. That's what I think.
Yeah.
To the potential detriment of your team? Because look at Patrick Mahomes, for example, who doesn't necessarily get fired up. Joe Montana had his moments. Steve Young had his moments. Troy Aikman, of course, had his moments. But for the most part, they, would throw an interception. Okay, shake it off, got the next play.
I really think it's a circumstance situation. If I have a quarterback that's hot-headed under center, I don't want him. I've played with that kind of quarterback. It's going to cost you. You've played with that kind of quarterback, Andy. I mean, he had all the talent in the world, but just couldn't keep his head level throughout the game. Whereas when Brady's coming off the field, or you see someone like, I don't want Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler just didn't give a – that's our timer. Jay Cutler just didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? So, I do want that fiery personality, but I want that fiery personality on the sidelines, not under center. Does that make sense?
And see, that's what I was going to ask about, like Jay Cutler, for example, and that's what's actually – that negative was actually the detriment, because, of course, a lot of people, I want to see him get more excited and this, that, the other. I said, well, that's not his playing style.
Right.
But you're just naming players at this point, huh?
I was reading that too. But anyway, well, man, we're past our time, brother. So we're going to have to sign off here. Anything you want to say before we get out? Andy, Brian, anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Say. Right on. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Brian. You're welcome anytime. And thank you for the partnership with Crue Life. Hopefully, like I said, we can grow each other's brands. For all of you out there, please like, follow, and share. Definitely check out Crue Life. It's listed in the description. And all of our sponsors, we want to thank you as well for today. So till next Sunday.